Hello, everyone. My name is Serena Houghton, Communication Specialist at the Greater Sum. I'm here with Siobhán and Liz from the Digital Hardware Foundation. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
So, since 2013, the Digital Harbor Foundation launched as a way to foster creativity, learning, productivity, and community. And the Tech Center provides programs for youth, workforce development opportunities, and a community for youth and their families to access the resources they need to close that digital divide. I've had the wonderful opportunity of visiting the Tech Center in sunny Baltimore back in 2019 to do a site visit for the Greater Sum. And you could watch that on our YouTube channel. And I'm glad to be here today with you both today to learn more about Digital Harbor's work. Welcome.
Thank you. It's
Thank
fun to
you.
reconnect.
So, my first question is, it's been 6 years since the Digital Harbor was part of our 2018 cohort, one of our very first cohorts of the 4 nonprofits that introduced their innovative work into the space. So what's been new since then?
Yes, great question. I'm going to jump in and take this one. So thank you so much, Serena. We're excited to be here. Grateful for the opportunity to be spotlighted in this way. So since then, we have grown a bunch, and it's all really exciting because it means, it's just more great work towards our mission of closing the digital divide. So you mentioned the Tech Center. We've actually combined what used to be formerly called Tech Center, Center for Excellence and Tech Extension into one project that we're now calling Tech Lab. And that's what Siobhán is the director of, so she'll speak more to that. But we've also expanded. So the work, started in our amazing foundation city, Baltimore, but now we're working across the country and even internationally too. So for example, we have one project that's operating in Ukraine, and we have like one in the United Kingdom, and then we have work all across the United States as well. And so a lot of this growth, we've grown with projects that we operate in-house at Digital Harbor Foundation. So one of them is Project Waves, where we're really working to provide internet access to folks across Baltimore, and we're expanding that program even to be across Maryland and potentially looking at some Pennsylvania options. So that project is growing, but then the place where we've really grown a lot is that we've become a fiscal sponsor. So as an organization, we now fiscally sponsor other groups that are working, to innovate around things related to technology in some form related to our 4 pillars. So the 4 pillars of our work that we really sort of ground ourselves and ground everything on are digital equity, diversity in the tech center, innovative education, and then technology for public good. So any project that we're working with relates to one of those 4 pillars in some way. But we currently have 14 fiscally sponsored projects that we work with, and then 5 projects that are known as philanthropic fund operator projects as well. And that's what has allowed us to really grow and expand our reach and just bring a lot more people into the network to make sure that this awesome work keeps happening.
Wow, you guys have really expanded a lot. Like, I didn't even expect the international stuff, but also to become a fiscal sponsor, that's a big deal. I really hope that in the future we're able to pick up new startups that you all could fiscally sponsor. So
Yes, we
we'll
would love that.
throw talent out your way. When I visited in 2019 to Digital Harbor Foundation, it was an amazing experience to see everyone in person since we operate our programs remotely, right? So how did COVID affect Digital Harbor operations as a tech and innovation hub for youth? And then how did the organization overcome some of the challenges that COVID-19 created?
So I would say, obviously one of the biggest pieces was we weren't able to meet with youth and educators in person. So that obviously had a big impact on our work. During that time, we did expand our youth work to serve youth virtually through a virtual Future of Work program. So we engaged youth through the partnership with Youth Works in Baltimore City to engage youth through that program. We did some virtual assistance with educators through that time. We also pivoted our approach, as Liz mentioned. That was the period where we really started expanding our work with fiscally sponsored projects and looking at other ways and means, and different issues related to the digital divide. So that's when Project Waves was really expanded, because there was highlighted such this need for digital access and equity. It really, put a spotlight on all the inequities in our city, which were there all along, but really were exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, both in terms of youth and their access to education, people's access to employment, and even basic health services. So that became a real centerpiece during that time. We also had other projects related to, at that time, it was Last Mile Education Fund, which helped low-income women to finish their education and provided funding for that. And now, as Liz mentioned, there's several other projects that are aligned with our mission, which is digital equity for all. I would say for Tech Center and COE, we did have a period maybe of kind of slowing down our in-person work, but we really have brought that back post-COVID. A heart of our work is our Tech Center, which has our after-school programs, which are signature work that we're known for. So we run a lot of innovative programs on e-textiles, vinyl cutting. It's all STEM equity based. We've been doing things with microbits. We've been doing partnerships with Under Armour to develop, design thinking and develop products that might serve the community. So we've done a whole lot of interesting things, expanding on our foundation as a makerspace. We've also expanded our work with educators. We have really leaned into the learning community model. We have a partnership with the Maryland Out of School Time Network to engage out of school time educators across the state. That's, kind of the overview of what we've been doing post-COVID. We're also looking to expand our National Science Foundation work to focus on accessibility for youth with autism in makerspaces and rec centers. So that's something we're really hopeful about leaning into in the coming years, as well as you may have heard that Baltimore is in the running to be a tech hub city. Well, it is been designated a tech hub, but we're kind of looking to expand into our programming to align our workforce development strategy with the work and the new job opportunities that will be available for youth in our city. So making sure that those things are accessible and that our programs really align to the skills that employers will be looking for would really be a focus in the coming years.
Just to clarify, because I heard so many different things, and because I was there in person, that maker space, when COVID came and everything had to kind of become a virtual operation, what were some of the elements of that tech space that continue to live on, kind of like on a virtual remote space?
Yeah, so some of the things that in particular for serving youth and families, they did have a tech lending library. So educators and families who needed devices could borrow. And so we did kind of host people giving donations and then being able to give out those donations of tech devices and things like that. That isn't something we're currently doing, but it was something that we kind of did in that period of time to help bridge the gap for families and communities. We also did the at-home maker STEM kits, which a lot of organizations also did. So kind of, at-home family make nights, so to speak, that kind of thing. So that was kind of a big, kind of those opportunities that people could take into their own space. We also during that time did continue with some of our virtual trainings for educators and we had a partnership with Smart Logic, and it was called our COVID Slam. And so youth kind of worked together in teams to develop a solution focused on kind of a lot of the mental health crises that youth were experiencing as a result of COVID. So developing different plans to address that and presented that, and were kind of awarded a small amount of money to continue their work and in their projects. So that was some of the ways that we virtually engaged youth throughout that time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was amazing.
Mhm.
Okay, so Siobhán or Liz, please enlighten the Greater Sum and our viewers what's in store for the greater for the Digital Harbor Foundation. Any future plans, expansions kind of in the works?
Do you want me to go first? I can go first. So I can speak particularly to Tech Lab. I touched on it a little bit, but with Baltimore being named a tech hub and a lot of biotech jobs and opportunities coming into our city, We really want to align our programming so that it's providing real opportunities for youth to engage with the economy and really lift up their families and have these economic opportunities, be accessible to the grassroots, right? Not just just the business, but really kind of that holistic approach is really what we're looking at. So that looks like working with partners and peer organizations to develop framework and workforce development programs and sharing resources. We are definitely looking at ways that we can align with other organizations to maximize our collective impact. That's really important. Rather than kind of swimming in our own silos, there's a lot of organizations doing this work and doing it well. And how do we kind of create this synergy so that we're having a greater impact than we would alone? So I think that's really important for our work. Again, leaning into the STEM equity piece. I mean, you may have heard of the launch of the You Belong in STEM initiative. This is a national initiative launched by the Biden administration. We were down there at the Department of Education last year at that launch, and they're having kind of a reconvening of that this spring. But that's really been a theme of our work, both through our STEM ambassadors work and even, taking further this NSF, National Science Foundation Rec to Tech work with, into the more special education space and, neurodivergent youth and how do we engage them. And, a real challenge is, a lot of times, and especially in low income communities, like there may be many youth who are not diagnosed or don't have the resources to support them in that, but how do you create environments that are accessible to everyone? So I think that's really, and how do we do that from like a learning perspective as well? So that's really kind of infusing all of our work.
And it's also amazing to hear all these collaborations that you're continuing to build too for the Digital Harbor Foundation. That also is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I will tune in to see all these amazing works over the next 5 years when we meet again.